is my duty to the American people to report that renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply.
We started with simply the assignment to do something about President Johnson. This was the vision of the Dallas Symphony, that to mark the occasion of the centenary, which is actually August of 2008.
On August 4th, 1964, two major events in LBJ's presidency collided. It was the Gulf of Tonkin and the discovery of Schwerner, Chaney, and Goodman's bodies, these three civil rights workers who had been missing all summer.
It's a kind of iconic moment in the development of America, and you can summarize the big events of that year on a single day, August 4th, 1964.
LBJ received word around 8 o'clock at night that the three bodies of these three civil rights workers, Schwerner, Chaney, and Goodman, had been discovered.
These three young men, Andrew Goodman and Michael Schwerner, both from New York City, and James Chaney, who was from Mississippi itself, had joined CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality. They were going to work for them for the summer, and they were registering black voters in Mississippi.
Yeah. But on June 21st, Schwerner, Chaney, and Goodman went to look at a church that had been burned. They were taken by the cops into a local jail. They were released about 5 hours later. The police were in cahoots with members of the KKK, and they were ultimately murdered that night.
August 4th, 1964. I was at a meeting at a church, and they got a call. My mother told them to bring me home, and everybody in the house was crying. The television was on. You could see this picture on the screen. 3 bodies being put into a hearse.
At 8 o'clock at night, when LBJ is called by Hoover's assistant and told that the bodies had been discovered, he's asked whether they should go public with that information, and LBJ really responds as a sort of a kind human being and says, no, we can't do that. We have to notify the families first.
On August 4th, I was home. This was 44 days after my brother and James Chaney and Michael Schwerner were first missing, and we got a call from Lyndon Johnson. He was on the phone. He said, this is the President of the United States. Who are you? And he said, I have some really bad news for you. And we found the bodies of your brother, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner, and we want you to know before we say anything publicly.
On the same day, early in the morning, LBJ got a call that the Maddox and the Turner Joy were under threat of being attacked.
Secretary McNamara, line O.
President, we just had word by telephone from Admiral Sharp that the destroyer is under torpedo attack.
Now, where are these torpedoes coming from?
Well, we don't know. Presumably from these unidentified craft that I mentioned to you a moment ago.
Robert McNamara was the Secretary of Defense in the Johnson administration, and he was, if not the architect of the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, certainly its CEO.
During the course of the day, you hear in these phone conversations McNamara and LBJ struggling, wrestling with what to do in response to this attack that they assumed had taken place.
They misinterpreted this as an attack which in fact had not happened. And we can only speculate how history might have developed otherwise if that interpretation had been better.
At 11:32 that night, LBJ went on TV and told the nation that an attack was underway.
Undoubtedly, the fact that 2 of the missing men were white and were from New York City, so that their hometown paper was the New York Times, made it into a bigger national story than it might have been.
The president used that to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Vietnam sort of eclipsed a lot of the good he did with the Great Society and with civil rights.
It's just an amazing story, and it got lost in the sauce. It's a Shakespearean tragedy.
The fact that it happened at the same time that another national tragedy was unfolding, the ramping up of the Vietnam War into something that was going to turn out in quite a complicated and bad way, makes that a kind of iconic day, focusing so many feelings and ideas and issues that we all lived with in the 60s and that we're still living with the consequences of.